Regarding my previous video, I left out one rather important matter in the interests of time. Where do we go from here? A popular answer in comment sections all over the internet has made a seemingly obvious answer out of Capcom vs. SNK 3, and as glorious as that will be, and it will be, I just wanted to take a moment to explain why now is not the time for either Capcom or SNK to produce a crossover title with one another, or frankly anyone else for that matter. You see, around the turn of the century, right as Aruze was looking to strip SNK for parts, the company was positively prolific. Almost every character who appeared in the Capcom vs. SNK games, give or take 3 or 4 outliers thrown in because a touch of obscurity works to a crossover's benefit, had starred in something else within the last few years. Today, if you took inventory of brand new SNK titles released in the last decade, you're left with the King of Fighters 12, the King of Fighters 13, the inexplicably DS exclusive Metal Slug 7, and Samurai Shodown Sen. At the moment, that isn't going to make them palatable for a company-spanning crossover project to a new generation of fighting gamers, who we've referred to affectionately as 09ers and 16ers, but stay tuned. I mentioned in the last video that Samurai Shodown 7, or whatever they end up calling it, is in the works. An R&D 1 chief, Yasuyuki Oda, has vowed to do something about Garo before he dies. Grim subtext aside, that's really quite encouraging. You also have to take particular note of KOF 14's Team Another World, which appears made to order as a here and now reminder that SNK is about much more than just KOF, and can hardly contain its own anticipation to show the world what's in store. It's safe to assume that the very existence of this team pushes the three of them to the front of the line for use in any potential crossover titles to come. Still, SNK's own preliminary state of affairs is just one thing between fighting gamers and a new Capcom vs. SNK offering. Capcom's own house is not in any kind of order on this front, despite having a healthy established presence in the Street Fighter brand. Their apparent reluctance to let producers Yoshinori Ono and Ryota Nitsuma branch out, already causing a potential Darkstalkers 4 to die on the vine, may have also been what pushed Neo G over to the SNK side. Capcom's participation in crossovers compared to SNK has historically been more inclusive of their non-fighting properties, but it's not as if crazy action-intensive characters like Dante or Albert Wesker would have much to offer a relatively down-to-earth crossover like Capcom vs. SNK, so don't expect much help from Capcom's non-fighting brands to fill in the gaps here. My point is, both companies have varying degrees of internal housework in the way of franchise management to take care of before either is ready to participate in another grand-scale crossover like Capcom vs. SNK 2. SNK has already gotten the ball rolling with a Samurai Shodown sequel informally announced, an effort to refresh the existence of The Last Blade in the minds of fighting gamers with The Last Blade 2 re-released this month, and Oda's aforementioned vague declaration of wanting to get something going in the way of a Garo sequel at some point. We don't even know if they're done spending money to bring in talent. It appears SNK will be in much healthier shape much more quickly to participate in a crossover, while Capcom's fighting producers continue having to butt heads with upper management before they are once again allowed to become bigger than just Street Fighter, but there is reason to be hopeful. Capcom Fighters Network is the online service that launched with Street Fighter V earlier this year, and provides the backbone of the game's online functionality while also enabling its cross-platform play. Launching it as its own entity rather than simply an extension of Street Fighter V at least implies that Capcom has some kind of long-term plan in mind surrounding its fighting game catalog, and just by existing should be enough to make you wonder. In the end, it comes down to SNK's need to re-establish itself as a big IP holder to newer audiences, which the PS4 re-releases alongside new Samurai Shodown and Garo titles should handily accomplish, while Capcom needs to figure out what, if anything, lies beyond Street Fighter V. It's important not to overlook this in the name of a when's CVS 3 mentality, because these are the games that are going to provide many, if not most, of the building blocks of the next few years of the fighting scene, and deserve the time and attention as such. Once those are all established, then it's time to start discussing more ambitious things. Next time I'll be exploring things SNK can do to ensure unprecedented success for the King of Fighters 14. In the meantime, I definitely recommend you pick up the King of Fighters 2000 on PSN to hype yourselves up for the return of the studio that produced it.